Hello, welcome to the Personal Corona Recovery Program or Reboot Yourself. My name is Peter Mueller and I have designed this program to help you to get through this difficult time of the 15-day government-imposed social isolating and kind of a quarantine. Today we are on day 7, the power of focus. You can see all the videos when you go to YouTube and type in simply Peter Mueller Reboot Yourself. You will find all of our videos. And if you join our YouTube channel, you can see and have access to all the other videos we have on various business and scientific matters. So, before we get rolling, for day 7, you know what's coming. First things first. Day 6, checkpoint. Did you take any action after viewing the videos 1 to 6? If not, please go back right away, because all the other days we are building on the exercises, knowledge and understanding from the days before. Did you identify yesterday 3 old patterns to kill with a breakthrough? You want to break the old pattern and establish a new pattern on very simple little things. The way you wake up, I told you, you want to wake up in an upbeat mode. Did you use a little trick that you play your favorite music? Or do you have a new breakfast routine? Or when you go to work, for those of you who have an essential job to deliver and do, did you change anything there? If not, please think about it, because with none of these actions, with none of these concepts, when you don't implement them, if you don't do them, you will not have a change going in the direction you wanted. Otherwise you fall into the old patterns, and in 2, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, when everything is coming back to so-called normal, but I can tell you it will never be exactly the same as it was. But if you play the victim and just hang on and roll on with it, don't be surprised if you are gonna be dissatisfied in 5 years from now and saying, I could have done, I should have done. You don't want to be in the 95% of could have, should have ones. All right? Now, did you have here now finally your hardbound journal? Do you have it? Because without it, I can tell you, you will miss 50% of the benefits of the program. Writing down the good ideas and checking on yourself every day, if you implemented it, you are not going to make any progress. And then it's one of the other programs, you look at them and then after 2 days it went into nothingness. All right. Did you read lessons 21 to 25? It's only 10 minutes from the 101 crucial lessons they don't teach you at business school. Did you meditate for 10 minutes? Did you take 10 minutes to quiet your mind down? Because it is working not only in those 10 minutes. If you practice this daily, you will have the following day, during the day, emotional balance. You have less emotional up and down swings. Believe me, if you hear, you forget. If you see, you remember. If you do, you understand. So, I hope you have done enough that you don't have to stop the video right now and go back again. So please, on that note, now we go to the power of focus. Now, what is focus? I always see focus is the same thing as concentration, and you know it when you see it. Actually, you are also during the day here and there focused, but most of the time we are actually not, if we're not purposely get ourselves into a conscious mode, that we use our frontal lobe, our conscious mind, to make logical decisions based on observations and so forth. But how that works, we go later in detail. Now, how do we see it? It is a matter of simply paying attention to. When you look at athletes, for example, you know it always. When you look, for example, to the Daytona 500, for 3.5 hours, that driver in the car is for 3.5 hours totally focused, because every second of the race there is a new situations, new cars coming around at different speed and so forth. And they are mentally more exhausted than physically, but they also sweat when they come out. In American football, for example, the game lasts in total for 3 hours on a Sunday, but there the attention span, the focus goes in ups and downs and ups and downs. You know, they go to the huddle and they talk about which game move they make, and then down, set, and then they call the play, and then it's about a maximum 5 seconds of total concentration when the move is going to be done, when the play is made and completed, and then there is another minute where they assemble again, whether it was successful or not. They resync, regroup mentally, emotionally, physically. They get from the sideline what the next play is going to be, and so forth. So it goes in ups and down, because you cannot be permanently for 10 hours always permanently be in stress and in total focus. And certain physical, certain games are designed like that. You have it also in tennis, or another classic example is golf. When you play a round of golf, actually when you walk it takes about 4 hours. But actually you are only 20 minutes about concentrated. You have, prior to every shot, maybe about a half minute of pre-shot routine, and the actual swing after you set up and everything is a matter of 2 seconds and so forth. Also there it is an up and down. But you know, in golf, for example, you see, especially amateurs, they normally lose it after the 11th, 12th, 13th hole or so. It is not that they are physically not okay. No, they are mentally exhausted. They cannot get those 30 seconds in the pre-shot routine and total concentration and execute for 2 seconds that swing they have done 1,000 times before. But they are not ready, they are not conditioned, their mind and body, that in the pre-shot routine for 30 seconds they get ready for the 2 seconds. The same as a weightlifter, when you see them prior to the Olympics. They have about 15 to 20 seconds per attempt where they have their pre-shot routine. They pump themselves up and get ready and whatever. And then the actual lift itself is a matter of a fraction of a second. And it's also these ups and downs. And you will learn during your day, you have always these up and down swings of high concentration and lower concentration. But you have to lead yourself into those high concentration situations. You don't want to go into crisis that you are caught by surprise, and then you are in panic and stress, and then you are forced to focus, but then most probably you don't make good decisions, because fight, flight, or freeze, you have those 3 options under stress, and there you don't make good decisions. You should go into the focused phase in a disciplined way, that you know, I'm going to do something now where I need my concentration. So you come relaxed into the focused mode, and then you are going to be much more productive than being forced into a situation to get your act together. In chess, it is the same thing. A chess game takes, okay, if you play blitz chess, it is 2 times 2 minutes or 2 times 10 minutes. When you play that competitively, I can tell you after 2 times 7 minutes, you are going to be completely exhausted. But when you play a long tournament game 2 times 2 hours, you are going to be also exhausted. But also there, you cannot pay complete attention for hours sitting in front of the board. And you see most people collapse after an hour mentally, and then they get weak. So, but we always want and we need our focus when we are in the creation mode, when we produce, when we do something new. Because as soon as we do familiar things, then our autopilot takes over and we are in a certain kind of routine. Then we are not creative anymore, you don't do any new things, and we are not making any substantial progress in anything really important. And in order to get into the focused state, by the way, we have to get mentally, emotionally into a good state to do this. If the environment forces us to pay attention, we get under stress and we are not relaxed to be mentally really productive. That's important. Whenever we go willingly into a focused state, we should do it in a relaxed mode. And that's what you do in golf, in your pre-shot routine, and that what the football player, when they go towards the front line, they go relaxed and then they go to full attention, and then in 3 seconds the explosion comes and the move for the game is over in about 3 to 5 seconds. You are not a football player, but at work you have to do the same thing. When you have to give a presentation in front of 100 people, you need to get ready and get into it before you go on stage. You prepare yourself and then game on, it's showtime. And you have to prepare yourself and do that. If you don't do this, you dabble into the situation and you cannot bring your peak performance. So being in the right state, being emotionally ready is very important, and that has a lot to do with how you set yourself up. We talked about it. Your capacity to act. Your capacity to act is your source of your personal power. And actions which are based on conscious decisions are the cure-all. But we have seen, as we have said yesterday, our actions are to 95% the result of the autopilot, subconscious programs from waking up in the morning and coming back at home. Only 5% are frontal lobe actions that we logically pay attention, absorb through our senses a scenario, evaluate various options, making decisions, making judgments, and finally following through with actions. That's a little part of our day, the rest of it. And when you go on the other side, you see that chart. Words, thoughts become words, become actions, become habits, become character and destiny. 95%, the arrow goes up there. It is emotionally, we run our autopilot based on familiar scenarios and people and everything. We have our routines there and go it. And the up-down from thought to action, deliberate thought process, decision and action makes only a little part. And that's what we have to change if we want to make significant progress. Here we go. This describes the triangle on the left-hand side, the bottom up, that we have our subconscious routines. We are in familiar situations, the people, the places, the situations. We go there and we are immediately charged with a certain emotion, whether we like the situation or not. We go to work, we are either excited or we say, another day. Now we have a meeting at 2 o'clock, and between the meeting at 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock, oh yeah, then we have lunch. Maybe, what's today on the menu? When you start a work day with that kind of attitude, you run it on autopilot, diddly squat happens during the day. Your actions basically go in that circle as we have. And one way is to interrupt the autopilot. You see it here. You can do it by changing location and people, by changing your actions when you simply do something completely different in the same situation. You change it up. Simply by changing your lunch routine by 20 minutes, you see different people. It's going to be a totally different thing. And when you go to a meeting, prepared or unprepared, it is something completely different when you see this. Or when your expectation, what you expect out of a meeting. If you say, I'm going to contribute, we're going to move it forward, we get this and this done. This is something completely different when you go and say, I go to the meeting, let's see what happens. So the unconscious, the 95%, it needs our action, actually, which changes the scenario with one thought. Number one thought is to do it different, that you go out of that old emotionally charged, we do it as we did it ever. Now, this is one part of it. As I've said, interrupt the old pattern and habits and replace it with new patterns, with consciously selected patterns and actions. Now, in order to do that, to get the frontal lobe, to get from thought to action, this part becoming more of the daily activity, of the mental and action activity than the bottom-up approach. Create a distraction-free environment and consciously work towards your significant goals. The creating distraction-free environment is one of the key things we have to do, because our reality is we are every day the slave of our cell phone, of all our electronics around us. It is your laptop, your desktop, it's everywhere. The TV, we are electronically bombarded every day. If we don't consciously choose a strategy to control the incoming stimuli, and 99% are distractions. It's other people throw something at us and they want us to respond, to react to it. But that's not how we create our life and our projects and our future. We are creating stuff and produce something for the future and for the now. So, creating a distraction-free environment, number one, we have to make a digital cleanup. Digital cleanup goes in two ways. Number one, you should go for 30 days in a digital detox. And simply the strategy is called unplug and disconnect. I cannot do that. Yes, you can. You don't have to do it all day. But unplugged and disconnect means that you select, there are two strategies, location bound and the other one is time bound. That you simply say in certain locations, in certain places, when I'm sitting at my home office or when I sit in front of the TV or sit in the car or elsewhere, when I'm at certain locations, I am unplugged and disconnected, full stop. And the other one is that you dedicate certain times during the day. I have 2 hours per day in my office where I don't have email, where I don't have my web browser. I do my creative work. Writing reports, making slides, making analysis, doing important customer phone calls and so forth. But you have to reserve this time. And actually, if you want to know how to do a digital detox best, go to YouTube and type in Peter Mueller Power Principles Part 2, which is an 11-minute video, and from minute 4 to minute 11 you get a detailed description on what you do. Here are a few ground rules what you should be doing. Number one, on your cell phone and your computer. Number one, go through all your apps and software installations you have. That for word processing, for spreadsheet, for communications, for video and audio recording. You have only one software or one app you are using and no duplications and so forth. And make a dedicated effort to learn your software that you can be really fully productive in it. Secondly, for your phone, Every app you haven't used in the last 6 weeks, get rid of it. Number 2, cancel all notifications immediately coming from software wanting to do updates and so forth. Choose always the option. You choose when you want to be updated. Your phone is ringing the whole day. Everybody wants to get in and gives you update. And in the background, they want to get to your phone book and get the email addresses and something else. But that's a different story. But the thing is, control the inflows, control the access from the apps to your computer. Only when you choose you go there and open it, then you should be active. That the same when you are in the office. Don't have the browser and 10 different apps open at the same time. No, one at a time. And when you do dedicated work, you do only twice a day email. I don't know, in the morning 30 minutes or in the evening 30 minutes. Or you do 30 minutes before lunch and 30 minutes last thing before you leave. 30 minutes before lunch is a good time because you actually get through fast because you know you want to go to lunch. So, and for the other time, the email is gone, is shut off, not ding, ding, ding every 3 minutes. I have another email. No, the same thing with your cell phone. Get all this notification stuff away. If it's not part of your job to be reachable every nanosecond, you are not a firefighter. No, shut it off, create your time. Eliminating distractions and interruptions is the one side. To create the time for the creative, productive time, your focus time. Now, when you have created your focus time, what are you doing in the focus time? Number 1, for your focus time, you have to develop clear goals with your boss on your job, major projects, and for yourself. And write them clearly down what they are. It needs to be tangible. And develop detailed plans before you rush into action. And actually, one tip to get to goals, talk yourself into it. Speak to yourself loudly when you are in your office alone. So now I'm going to do this, and develop a kind of a power move, which I explain at the end of it. And at home, so you should create 2 to 3 hours per day, defined time blocks where you are distraction free. You get the outside impulses, the possible ones, you get them out of the way. You go maybe out of your office and go to a conference room which is empty and do your work there. You can do that there. If people invade your office, there's nothing wrong. You can have an open door policy, but there's nothing wrong to have your open closed for an hour or 2 a day if you want to be without any distractions. Create a distraction-free environment. And then another important thing is, you know that you are in your frontal lobe if you read, write, and when you read out loud to yourself, that you have your senses really under control. And talking to yourself is always a good exercise, reminding yourself, and you keep your frontal lobe active. And last but not least, create yourself a power move. You have it. When you think about historically, when you had any kind of major achievements and you think what you were thinking, saying, or with your hands, or what you said, some people, they simply say, let's do it, and go, or clap in their hands and say, go. Whatever it is, you have this power move already. If you have it, find it out. If not, create one for yourself. It's showtime, whatever. And then you set your body and mind and emotion on and you go. So find your power move or create one. That's it for today. There is a lot to do. Your daily activities on the left-hand side, I don't want to repeat it. If you don't get it in day 7, we finished the first week now, you will most probably never get it. Sorry. This is your last chance, okay? From next week, most probably, this white box on the left-hand side will disappear. Now, the tasks and exercises for tomorrow. Meditate 10 minutes, because you have to learn to cool down your brain waves and get your mind settled that it is not as easily irritable and distracted during the next day. And meditation does this for you. Read the lessons 26 to 30 in the 101 Crucial Lessons book. And identify 3 unplug and disconnect opportunities. Tell me tomorrow, write me an email. What have you found? How can I make my digital detox? How can I do it? Find it on the cell phone, find it on your computer. Tell me what it is. And on your cell phone, last but not least, make that cleanup. All old apps out, control who gets access to your computer, go to your settings and learn where it is, that the apps cannot go all the time for updates and so forth. It is a mess your cell phone before you know it. All right? Take this to your heart and get into action. See you tomorrow and live with passion. And we are maybe halfway through the quarantine, 15 days. It's gonna be maybe a little longer. Stay home and stay safe.